I miss my friend Herb Dean.
You miss him?
Yeah, we're homies now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your co-host, Gordon Gambles, joined today by this beauty of a man here, Kiro. And we are back after a, let's say, a relaxing week off of UFC action. I was lucky enough to be at the last card we have. That was a great weekend, by the way. We were hitting all these bets. Appreciate all the love and support on the video as always, but not only that, congratulations. Making the pro team here in Ottawa.
Thank you.
Big fan of Ultimate Frisbee. Go check that out. And yeah, it's just been an amazing week for us, especially on the DFS side. We have been raking in the cash, and we're looking to keep it going here at UFC 273. How excited are we for this card?
Oh, really excited. I mean, the past few weeks have been absolutely phenomenal. We had some people send us some messages using some of our lineups to score some big takedowns in some GPP pools, do really well on the DFS side of things, as you said. And this week, you haven't even heard our picks yet, but we've already crushed it in our picks this week. So shout out to us for that. It's been awesome recently, and we're looking to keep that going forward. This is a super exciting card. UFC 273, a huge one, 3 incredible fights. This is a good card. Great fights. We're excited for it.
Yeah, you have 3 absolutely massive favorites in the 3 featured bouts of the nights, and those are 3 we're going to talk about later on. We are hyped for those. Before we do though, want to mention, as always with these big cards, I'm going to do another giveaway, $25. Only if we get to 200 subs here. I think we're like 5 subs away from that, so hopefully we get there. Tell your friends, get on some free money. All you gotta do to enter that contest is comment your DraftKings username below, or send me a DM on Twitter. I will get that sorted, but come take my money. Why not, right? All right, let's not waste any more time. We have a beautiful card to talk about. First things first, we gotta do it. Is it smash time this weekend?
Oh yeah, it's always... Yeah, it is. I mean, Chimaev, we've seen so much from him already. He's only had a few fights in the UFC, but this guy has absolutely dominated. We've seen him dominate in wrestling outside of the UFC, and in the octagon, he's been unstoppable. This guy's a huge favorite, and for a reason. Gilbert Burns, a fantastic fighter in his own right, but we've seen weaknesses from him. We haven't seen those from Chimaev. Chimaev has rushed every single one of his opponents, and Burns, we've seen him be knocked out. We've seen him been out-wrestled. We've seen some areas that Chimaev might be able to exploit here. Chimaev is incredibly strong for this weight division. He has fantastic power, and he has fantastic ability to get on top of people, get them to the ground, get that ground and pound, get TKOs, get KOs on the feet. I mean, it's Khamzat Chimaev. Hard to argue with that. He's at $9,400 this week, but we think that honestly, he probably in Chimaev fashion gets that early finish. His finishes have been first round, second round. He has really shown up in the UFC so far, and we don't expect that to change. I mean, this guy's one of our favorite fighters, and honestly, if he's not one of your favorite fighters, I don't know what you cheer for in the UFC, because he's everything that we could expect. This guy's fantastic. We expect him to get a title shot in this division soon, and yeah, this Gilbert Burns fight is obviously a big test for him, but we expect him to crush it and be worth that $9,400.
All aboard the smash train. He's gonna smash everybody, right? I love it. Let's keep it rolling. There are 2 title fights on here. Of course, we have the rematch between the illegal knee of Jan versus Sterling, and then you have Volkanovski lost to Holloway.
Wait, what? What was that? Yeah.
Should be his belt. We have Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. Of course, 2 big favorites. I'm gonna look at this very easy. Whereas we are all aboard the Chimaev smash train, we do think that these underdogs are more live in these 2 title fights. I'm going to be playing a little bit of Sterling this week because people forget that first fight was close. Yes, Jan was dominating down the stretch, and Sterling went out there, he gassed himself, I didn't look great, but I don't see Peter Yan finishing Sterling early, so his floor is a lot higher than a lot of other people at that price range. I don't mind Sterling this week. I am going to pick Jan to win, of course, but I do think Sterling has a decent floor for a cash option. If you want a GPP option down low, though, Korean Zombie is where you're going to go. Am I a Holloway fanboy? Maybe. Is this impacting my decision? Maybe. But I do think Volkanovski has some areas to be exploited. The Korean Zombie is a very, very smart fighter, we'll give him that, and he packs a lot of power. Volkanovski has been rocked in the past, and whereas he hasn't been rocked recently, he's been facing guys in Ortega and Holloway who aren't just power punchers. Jung's gonna be one of the hardest hitters he's hit in a long time, and I think that the way that Jung wins this fight is by KO, which will score very high. His path to victory has a high ceiling. Do I think he wins? No, I think Volkanovski wins, but Jung is a GPP play because if he does win, it will score very, very well.
Yeah, again, we're not saying that we necessarily like those underdogs or think that Volkanovski or Jan will get upset in either of these bouts. But if you're looking for some underdogs in this lineup, these guys have super low salaries. And again, Sterling decent underdog in cash, and Korean Zombie, decent underdog for those GPP lineups.
Love it. Let's keep it rolling with an underdog that isn't as risky as those plus 500 underdogs. We are taking the underdog in Kay Hanson, 7.9K. Tell us a bit more about her.
Yeah, Kay Hanson is an underdog that we like here at $7,900, which means she is quite close to the middle of the price range. Not that big of an underdog, but she's one that we definitely think has a path to victory this week. I mean, it is true that her opponent, Rodriguez, probably better on the feet. Kay Hanson definitely will be hittable in those minutes if they stand. But if she's smart, she goes for those takedowns. She tries to take this to the ground, and she takes a fighter in Rodriguez who's untested on the ground, down, and has the ability, definitely has the wrestling chops to win some minutes on the ground here. So although she is hittable, we don't necessarily see her getting finished early on the feet, which means that she could put up a pretty decent score here. And at $7,900, she's definitely one of the underdogs that we think has a pretty clear path to victory this week, so might get it done.
Yep, sitting there at $7,900. With that amount of money, you can also buy her OnlyFans, but I stick with getting her at 7.9K, a decent underdog we like this week. All right, let's move on. Let's target a couple fights as a whole. 2 heavyweight fights we're going to target. Now, the first one being the one I missed out on last week. I was so excited to go see my boy, the boiler constrictor, Alexei Olynyk. Unfortunately, Latifi pulled out last minute. He got rebooked to this card, this time against the Mountain, Jared Bandera. Completely contrasting styles, because a guy in Latifi will take you down, a guy in Bandera will refuse to be taken down. He is a striker versus grappler, whereas Bandera does have a black belt on paper, has been subbed, and I think that if it gets to the ground, Olynyk is very live to get that sub. At the same time though, let's point out the obvious, he's 44 years old.
Yeah.
He's 44 years old. He is 44 years old. I see this fight finishing one way or the other, either Olynyk sub or Bandera on the feet, getting rid of that old man with his length and power. However, this is a much more winnable fight for Alexei Olynyk. His ground game is elite. We know that it might only need 1 takedown. I kind of want to ride with the old man here in Alexei Olynyk. However, if you want another heavyweight fight to target, we are looking at that Rosenstrike versus Tybura fight. Rosenstrike, a very big name. He's down there on the prelims, even though he is a bigger name. He holds a lot of power. And this is another classic striker versus grappler matchup. Tybura, where he had awful takedown accuracy last time out. Really struggling to take down Alexander Volkov. He does have a very good ground game, and Rosenstrike's a kickboxer with an extensive record who wants to keep it on the feet. Again, very similar matchup. You have the grappler, you have the striker. You have the grappler.
I barely know her.
You have the grappler, Tybura, striker, and Rosenstrike. I see it ending one way or the other. I do think that Tybura has upside, especially those takedowns at 7.6K. However, that knockout will be there for Rosenstrike. So I'm going to take a little bit of Rosenstrike at 8.6K as well. And if you're able to take that dog and Tybura, that opens up for another GPP play up top in Mike Malott. Tell us a bit more about him.
Yeah, this week we're riding with our Canadian boy, Mike Malott. This guy's sitting here at $8,800, so again, a relatively big favorite on this card, but he's going up against a guy in Gall who we definitely think he has the advantage over. This guy has a ton of early finishes in his career, lots of first round finishes, both by sub and by KO and by TKO. This guy definitely has finishing ability. He's got that early ability, and he also has a gas tank to last through a 3-round fight, whereas Gall on the other side doesn't necessarily have that same gas tank. So we definitely like Malott in this bout. The one thing you might be able to say against Malott here is that his fighting frequency hasn't been super high over the past few years. It's been a lot of time between fights, but he's the big favorite in this fight and we like him there. However, his striking defense is not at that elite level, which means that for that reason, he is more of a GPP play in our eyes this week. He definitely has the ability to finish it early, score huge, which could be huge, but he also could get knocked out at some point in this fight, which means that he also has a relatively low floor. So he's a GPP play that we like, but if you want somebody with that high salary, that ability to finish early, he's definitely somebody to consider this week.
You killed it. And if you do want a safer option, we do like some certain cash plays up top, mainly someone in Raquel Pennington or Ian Gary. Tell us a bit more about him.
Yeah, here's a guy in Ian Gary who we like a little bit more in all around. He's sitting up here at $9,200. Again, big favorite, just like those top 3 guys, but He put up a good score in his first fight in the UFC. He is a prospect, but put up 109 points in that first fight with a salary of $9,500. And again, this week, he's getting a fight where we think he definitely has the advantage in the matchup. Ian Gary is a fantastic striker and counter striker. And Weeks we saw get outstruck by somebody in Barberena who's not the most technical striker, which means that Gary definitely has the ability to beat him on the feet, to win those minutes. He is at $9,200, expensive salary. If you're taking a lot of those top guys, he might be hard to fit in lineups, but he is an option. And with those top guys being such big favorites, he might be a bit lower owned this week because he is at $9,200 as well. So hard to fit all those guys in your lineup. So definitely somebody to consider. We think that he has great upside this week.
If you want to fit him in, let's talk about one last dog in Mark, the Olympian Madison. Now, this is a tough one for me because I do like Pichel, but there is a clear path to victory for Marco Madison. He is a great wrestler, Olympic medalist, and he's facing a guy Pichel with one of the worst takedown defenses in the division, on paper at least. Where he does have cardio concerns, he's gonna be able to go out there and get takedowns at will, scoring very high in those early rounds. All he's gotta do is survive in that last round to get us a lot of points. I think he's got a very good ceiling and even a decent floor too, because he's gonna be able to out wrestle and accrue a lot of takedowns in the process. And whereas I do think Pichel definitely is live to finish in that third round, he's someone I'm really staying away from because he could easily just be sat on for 2 rounds. Madsen is a great wrestler. We've seen Pichel struggle to be taken down a lot recently. Madsen definitely has a huge path to victory here. Let's just hope his gas tank doesn't fail us. All right, rounding out this breakdown with the last 2 fights we haven't talked about, Hernandez versus Frem. Super fun fight. Frem making his debut and taking it on short notice versus Hernandez. He was supposed to fight Dricus du Plessis, getting the replacement here in Josh Frem. Now, this is gonna be super fun. 2 finishers. I see this one finishing at a very high clip. Hernandez went out there, he submitted Rodolfo Vieira a couple of fights ago. Do not forget about that, but great ground game. Friend, very lanky, good on the feet, good striking, but we've seen these two go out there and exchange a lot. I do really like Hernandez to win this fight, but GPP-wise, Josh Friend does have some decent upside because I see this fight finishing one way or the other. Last fight we haven't talked about is that Santos versus Arce fight. Arce, really good. We've seen him in the division for a long time. Santos drawing a really hard opponent. I think this one is dog or pass. We haven't seen enough from Santos to go out there and talk to him and make him one of our core plays this week, but he is live. I will be having some of him in our lineups at 7.2K. That's gonna do it for us here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Once again, giveaway this week. Like the video, comment your DraftKings username down below, or message me on Twitter at GamblesGordo or at Plays Fades. This is a super fun card. We are so excited to make some money with you guys. Once again, thank you very much for all the kind messages. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you're making more money with us. And let's make some money, guys.
Ding.